Hey guys, it's Rob here and welcome back to another video. So in this video we are going to talk about something pretty interesting when it comes to the Nintendo Direct, the next big Nintendo Direct, and Kirby Air Riders. I thought this was a pretty interesting theory, so I'd talk a bit about that. We do have some news for the Nintendo Switch 2 as well for multiple games and some fixes for different Nintendo Switch 1 games running on the Nintendo Switch 2. So a good mix of news today, as well as a little bit of discussion and theories thrown in. If you guys end up enjoying this video, make sure you guys leave a like. It helps the video reach more viewers when you do, and of course if you want more of these videos, subscribe to the channel. So first up, let's talk about that discussion because I feel like a lot of people are interested in the next big Nintendo Direct, and I think the reason behind that is because not only did the Partner Direct not have a lot of big games in terms of just Nintendo games that a lot of people play for the Nintendo Switch 1 and 2, like the games that you think about, The Legend of Zelda, Super Mario, those kind of games. Of course, it's a Partner Direct, so why would those be there? But there's just also other games that we really want to know about, especially when it comes to release dates like Metroid Prime 4, or even more information on like Splatoon Raiders. So if you guys didn't catch this news or the last video I did when I did cover this news, Kirby Air Riders was rated in Saudi Arabia. Now, according to My Nintendo News, the only time a game gets rated in Saudi Arabia is when the development of that is complete. And they also mention, if true, then the game's release date shouldn't be too far off. Now, I do find that pretty interesting, because when it comes to Nintendo giving us news on games, especially release dates, it usually comes in the form of a Nintendo Direct, especially when it comes to like big IPs like Kirby, you know? I consider it a big IP anyways, I don't know about you guys. And the big topic around Nintendo Directs right now is, when is that big Nintendo Direct gonna happen? Is it gonna happen in September? Are they gonna throw us for a loop and have it in August? When you throw in the Super Mario 40th anniversary as well, which Nintendo is more than likely gonna do a Nintendo Direct for that and announce some Super Mario things, you do find yourself in a bit of a conundrum, right? But with that being said, I think what this could possibly mean is that we could get the release date for this game at a Nintendo Direct, and it could possibly be in September. Now, people do say, well, there's the 40th anniversary for Super Mario, right? Well, here's the thing. Nintendo isn't really too strange at doing two Nintendo Directs in the same month. I don't see why they wouldn't do that, right? And also, again, Metroid Prime 4 is a 2025 game, so we're going to have to get a release date for that sometime, unless Nintendo's going to be delaying it. So if it's true that the reason why Kirby Air Riders was rated in Saudi Arabia, and that means that the development is complete, then we should be getting a Nintendo Direct very soon, and usually Nintendo does a September Nintendo Direct. I think Nintendo's gonna do a September Nintendo Direct, and they'll have the 40th anniversary for Mario as well within the same month. Oh geez, I don't know why I said month like that. Should probably get more sleep. Nintendo has done this actually pretty recently. Nintendo did the Nintendo Switch 2 reveal Nintendo Direct, which held a lot of games as well, not only the Nintendo Switch 2 itself, and they also did Nintendo Directs very close to that as well, so I don't see why they wouldn't do that now. As to what that Nintendo Direct would serve, I think it would not only serve to flesh out more of the months with more games leading into 2026 and of course the rest of 2025, but just give us news on some of these upcoming games, and not just news, a good look at the game as well. Especially when it comes to Kirby Air Riders, we only have that initial trailer. We don't really have a lot of information on the game, and we don't have a good look at the game. So I do definitely feel that September Nintendo Direct is going to be possible, and I think Nintendo's going to also hold the 40th anniversary Nintendo Direct for Super Mario as well within the same month. This whole Saudi Arabia, when the development is complete, that's when the game gets rated, does make me think that. With that being said, let's shift over to some news. So when it comes to Nintendo Switch 1 games on Nintendo Switch 2, sometimes there can be some issues when you're playing them, and it seems that some of the Nintendo Switch 1 games on Nintendo Switch 2 have received some updates, so they just run better. So Nintendo Life has an article that says more Switch games reportedly receive Switch 2 compatibility fixes, and they also have an update on this as well. It seems more games were added to the fixes. So these are some of the games that were fixed: Cotton Reboot High Tension, DC3 DeCapo 3 Plus Story, Darkstar 1 Nintendo Switch Edition, Disgaea 7 Hour of Darkness, and Vigente. Now they also go on to say that Nintendo has apparently also identified issues with Monster Rancher 1 and 2 DX. They're still making Monster Hunter Rancher games? Really? I did not. I remember watching that on what was the name? WB Kids TV. At least memory serves me right, it was WB Kids TV. I may be wrong on that, but I remember watching the cartoon. Man, that's a throwback. You know, it'd be actually pretty cool to do like a review of that show. I think that would be pretty cool. But they also say, and Marco and the Galaxy Dragon slowdown issues, and Windjammers reportedly has some audio issues. If we hear any updates about fixes for these titles, we'll let you know. Now, in an update on August 3rd, there was another batch of games that were reportedly fixed as well, and those were the games that we previously mentioned in this video. As far as the other games, there's actually quite a lot. Things like Harvestella, Gunbird 2, Labyrinth of Galeria, The Moon Society, Sakuna of Rice and Ruin, Portal 2, Northgard. There's a whole bunch. If you guys want a full list, that will be in the description down below for all of the games. But just to mention a couple other ones that I found pretty interesting, especially since I have watched the anime from this. Konosuba, God's Blessing on This Wonderful World. I should try that out because I just find the anime so funny. I don't know if anyone ever watched Konosuba, but it is absolutely hilarious, so I'll have to check that game out eventually. They also say that games like Batman Arkham Knight, Darkstar 1, and Welcome to the Imperium also has some issues. Nintendo has identified some issues with that for the Nintendo Switch 2. So if you do have any issues, definitely tell Nintendo and they'll probably get right on that, hopefully anyways, or if there's any other games that have issues. Now, speaking of Nintendo Switch 2 games, it seems that Hunter x Hunter Nen X Impact brings 3v3 anime fighting to the Nintendo Switch, according to Nintendo Life. And they also updated it. It seems a season pass is also gonna be in this game as well. It was featured in a new trailer, which you should be seeing in the background if I can grab that trailer. My only time with Hunter x Hunter is with the anime, not the original one, but the one that they redid. At least I think that's a remake. It is definitely among one of my favorite animes too, so maybe I'll check this out. I'm not really too into fighting games other than like Smash Bros, but you know what? I said the same thing about a lot of other games, and whenever I do give them a chance, I end up liking them, so we'll see. And I usually rent it from Gamefly too, so it doesn't really cost me money to buy them, so there's really no reason not to at least try it. And moving on to the next topic, it seems that there was a rumor about THQ Nordic and Purple Lamp bringing a SpongeBob SquarePants game to the Nintendo Switch. And it seems that that has been confirmed. SpongeBob SquarePants Titan of the Tide will be on the Nintendo Switch 2 later this year on November 18th, 2025, and that's going to be costing you $39.99. But yeah, that's just another new Nintendo Switch 2 game if you guys are interested in. One thing I do want to talk about is something that I guess is kind of Nintendo related. There is an article that has to do with the Nintendo Switch 2 version of Battlefield 6. Now, I am a pretty long-term Battlefield fan. I love Battlefield. I like it more than Call of Duty personally. I've always leaned more towards Battlefield. I just like some of the chaoticness that can happen in Battlefield. And with Battlefield 2042, I did have my fun in it here and there, but it definitely wasn't my type of Battlefield. I like the more gritty boots, you know, Battlefield 3 and 4 were really my favorite. I would say more so Battlefield 3 personally, but Battlefield 3 and 4 are some of my favorites. I did like, you know, Battlefield 1 and, what's the name? I'm forgetting the other Battlefield name, but you guys know exactly which one I'm talking about. My brain is kind of fried right now because I haven't had any food yet. But when it comes to Battlefield 6, I absolutely love how it literally looks like they looked at what people wanted in Battlefield, all the comments, all the criticisms of 2042, and they took that to heart and made exactly what we wanted. Like, everything, like from every single point, from just the gameplay to the graphics to the boots on grounds to the classes to even like the portal mode. Like, there's so many things that a lot of us did want, and I'm happy that they listened and they brought to this. So I am extremely excited for Battlefield 6. Now, I'm not gonna pre-order it, you know, just in case, because it almost seems too good to be true, you know? I have a PS5, by the way. I just don't own a Nintendo Switch 2. But when it comes to the Nintendo Switch 2 version of Battlefield 6, EA apparently currently has no plans for the Nintendo Switch 2 version, which is extremely unfortunate. I would assume that it could run on the Nintendo Switch 2. I don't see why not. I mean, other games, especially considering that games like, you know, Cyberpunk 2077 runs on the Nintendo Switch 2, the DLC too, so I don't see why Battlefield 6 wouldn't be able to come to it. But this is what they said. Battlefield boss Vince Zambella told Eurogamer that EA doesn't currently plan on bringing the upcoming shooter to to Nintendo's new console. Pressed as to why, Zambella said that even though he's a huge Switch fan, the focus was on PC and PlayStation and Xbox consoles because that's where Battlefield fans primarily play. And I guess they do have a point on that. I mean, I'm a Battlefield fan, and more than likely I'd probably buy it on the PlayStation 5, and then like if I did want a portable version, especially like just playing it in bed or something, I would probably rent it for a bit, or maybe potentially double dip if it is as good as it seems to be anyways. Though I would love for it to come to the Nintendo Switch 2, especially considering that now the Nintendo Switch 2 is more powerful than the Nintendo Switch 1, and it's not going to look as bad. It's not going to look as great as the PS5 and PC and Xbox Series X, of course. I think we can all expect that, but I mean, when you look at things like Cyberpunk 2077 and especially the DLC compared to like the PS5 and the Xbox Series X, there is a very good comparison there. It looks great compared to the other ones, so I would definitely be curious as to like how Battlefield 6 looks compared to the PS5 and especially the PC version. I know it would look drastically different, of course, but it's always interesting to see the console and PC comparisons. But yeah, as far as the Nintendo Switch 2 version of Battlefield 6, unfortunately it seems it's not in their plans, or at least not that they're telling us. I guess we'll see like how well the Switch 2 sells and stuff. It seems to be selling well too, so we'll see on that. Another thing you have to think about is that it probably wouldn't come to the Nintendo Switch 1, and with there being very limited Nintendo Switch 2s out, developing specifically for such a small install base, is that worth their effort, time, resources? You know what I mean? So maybe like when more Nintendo Switch 2s get sold in like a year or two, maybe then they'll bring it in. I would love for them to do it near launch or at launch, but that's not the case, I guess. But yeah, let me know your thoughts on the topics we covered in this video today. The Nintendo Direct speculation based off of the Kirby news, Battlefield 6 not coming to the Nintendo Switch 2, the games that were announced for the Nintendo Switch 2, and how is your experience on playing Nintendo Switch 1 games on Nintendo Switch 2? Have you come across any issues playing those? Let me know down in the comment section below. Thanks for watching, guys, and I will see you guys in the next video. Take care.